Welcome to Reading with Rosalind Reece, the RRR, Reading with Rosalind Reece. Yeah, I love reading. I've been teaching now for going on almost 20 years, and reading is just so much fun for me. A lot of students don't like to read, so I'm here to help you parents and anyone else who's trying to help your child or your nephew, your niece, your neighbor, anyone become a better reader. So summer is here, and your child has been through so much this past year with the pandemic and everything. They've had to adjust mentally and emotionally and even physically to a lot of changes. So even though summer is here and it's all about fun, yeah, I want my children, my own personal children, my three daughters to have fun in the summer. You want your child to have fun in the summer. That's very important, but they still need to read, guys. Reading is like fundamental. You've heard that over and over again. Reading is fundamental. So I'm going to give you some tips here. I wrote them down, so pardon me looking up and down. I'm going to give you 7 tips to help your child become a better reader and also to get them to read in the summer. The first tip is to read a story that they want you to read. Let them go with you to the public library or even in your own home if you have a library in your home or online. Let them go with you to find and choose the book. Okay, because that's going to increase their likelihood of participating. If you're reading a book that you want to read for them and they hate that topic or they hate that subject and it's just extremely boring for them, you're going to lose out. So make sure you pick a book that they want to read, okay? And then to make it even better, pick several books that they want to read all at once when you go to the library, and that way you don't have to keep going back every day or every week or 3 times a week. You can go back every couple of weeks. Just get a lot of books that they want to read so you can save some time. Number 2, I have some questions that I've posted here in the description box there that I put there. Use those questions to guide your conversation. So you've heard probably of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. Those are basic, fundamental questions that every child should be able to answer, okay, about a story. And then I'm going to add a number 6, the how. So you want the 5 W's plus the H, the who, what, when, where, why, and then the how. Ask your child those 6 questions. Who was the story about? Why did they do what they did in the story? When did the story happen? What happened? How did it happen? If you can get your child to answer those questions, that's going to show you and let them know that they've understood the story. Because we all know that if you can read a story really well, your child can read it and say the words great. But if they can't tell you what happened in the story, you kind of wasted the time a little bit, okay? So the foundation, the basis of reading is comprehension. So if your child has read a story and doesn't understand what they've read, that's what you need to work on that with them. And you can work on that with them by asking the 5 W's and the 1 H, okay? Tip number 3, give them incentives. Now, some people argue about that and they say that you shouldn't give children incentives because they should have an intrinsic motivation, which is true. Intrinsic motivation means from inside. They should want to do well based on their own individual hearts. Yeah, that's great. It sounds good, but it's also not the most realistic. From my experience, I like to give extrinsic rewards for my students. And then I find over time, as I build in the extrinsic rewards and kind of increase their understanding of how important it is for them to want to learn on their own, that over time is going to increase their intrinsic rewards and intrinsic concern about their education. And the older they get, you want more of the intrinsic rewards because you're going to step back and pull back as they get older and older. But as they're younger and even older, I'm an adult. My rewards, I get paid, okay? So I just think it's silly when people say that you shouldn't give students and children rewards. So give your child a reward. You don't have to give them candy because we all know that candy isn't always a treat. It can be unhealthy. But you can find some way to motivate them by stickers, depending on their age. You know your child better than anybody else. So you figure out how you want to reward them. For me, for my daughters, I gave them I did like a little sticker chart, and I gave, once they hit so many stickers, I gave them, we went to get some ice cream, or we would go for a bike ride, or we went and I gave them a cupcake or whatever. Figure out what your child likes, and then you decide as a parent what you want to give them. You may want to give them coins or $1 or whatever. It's up to you, okay? So give them incentives. That's going to help them want to do it, okay? Tip number 4 is play a game. Make it a game, guys. If you can make learning fun, that's going to go a long way. So play a game with them. So take the story that you read to them, right? And create some other activities, such as a little competition. So you say, okay, I'm going to set the timer here, and we'll set it for 3 minutes. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions, and I'm going to ask you some simple questions like, who did this? What happened here? What color was this character's shirt? Just some simple little detail questions. Something like that. Make it fun and quick, and you can set a timer and then ask them those questions and make it a competition, okay? Kids love games, or there's all kinds of games. You can read the story to more than one of your children. If you have more than one child, read it to siblings and then make a competition between them, a fun competition. You don't want it to become some, over the top competition, but just a fun little game where they can play, okay? So somehow make it a game, okay? Tip number 5, you can sign your child up for the summer reading program in your area. Almost every area, every major city has a public summer reading program. So find that program, sign them up. It's usually pretty easy. You usually just go online these days, go to the library's website, sign them up, and then just start reading. And every time you read a book, you log that for your child. And once they hit a certain number of books or hours, then you can go back to the library and they will give your child a treat. It's just another way to make it fun, okay? Plus they have programs too. They may have a read aloud at the library. They may have games themselves at the library. Go to the library. Take your child to the library in the summer because it's free. It's educational, and from my experience, it has been fun, okay? Now, I know we are in the middle of a pandemic, so you decide, what you want to do with that, but, put their mask on and go on about your business and go to the library and let them read. The library also has free access to computers sometimes, so if your child doesn't have a computer at home, a laptop, they can go to the library, and they have games at the library that they can play, activities. Just check it out. The library you're going to find it's like an adventure. Take them to the library. Tip number 6, make sure you have your child read to you too. So I told you in tip number 1, I believe it was. Yeah. Tip number 1, I told you to read a story for your child. Well, tip number 6, make sure your child reads to you as well. You reading to your child is fantastic, okay? It doesn't matter how old they are, okay? Even if they're in high school, middle school, okay? You can still read to your child, okay? Of course, it's best to start young, but reading to them is fantastic because they're going to hear vocabulary. They're going to hear fluent reading from you. You're going to be able to discuss questions with them and discuss the story with them. But you also want them to read to you because that's going to also build their fluency. And fluency just means how well they read, the speed at which they read, okay? So you're going to want to have them read to you, and as much as they can. And again, you're going to have them pick out the books. If you can, try to choose a book that's on their level. I don't know if you know that as a parent or not, but you can a quick way to do it is just pick out a book that you might think might be too easy for your child, and pick out a book that you think might be in the like at their medium level, and then just see how they read it. If they miss too many words within a sentence or 2 or 3, then that's probably going to be too hard for them. So choose a book on their level so that they can read on their level, and that's going to really help increase their fluency. Okay, you definitely don't want to choose a book that's going to be too hard because that's not going to be effective. That's just common sense, right? And make sure that have them reading to you, and you're reading to them in a relaxing environment. Find a good spot in the house or your apartment. Go in the backyard. Go on the porch. Find a comfortable place where your child wants to read and where you want to read to them. On the couch, my favorite place is a couch. It's just so comfy. Just figure out a good area so that they're going to associate reading with a peaceful environment, and don't make it stressful. Okay, I've been guilty of that with my own children, with me being a teacher. I'm like a drill sergeant. It doesn't work. Okay, it's going to backfire. So try to make it fun, make it peaceful, make it fun. And the last tip number 7, is use audiobooks. Audiobooks are fantastic, guys. You can go online these days, go to the public libraries online, log in, and they have free audiobooks for your child to read. It has great pictures and visuals. It's exciting, it's fun. Have them listen to the stories, okay, the audiobooks. You can also still go to the library and check out books on tape. They may not call it books on tape these days, but they may not even have tape recorders. Some libraries still do. I have a tape recorder in my house because I'm old school, but you may not because you may be new school. So if you don't have a tape recorder, just have them read online with the audiobooks. There's so many different websites. You can just type in free audiobooks online or free stories online. You can go to YouTube. There's so many stories on YouTube. I actually have a story called Pink and Say on my YouTube channel. And another story called I Love My Hair. There's so many YouTube artists out there who professionally produce stories. So there's no excuse. Go to YouTube and find a story, okay? Or whatever platform you use, whatever you use, okay? And again, the library does have, any library worth its salt is going to have a section where you can go get some books, some cassette tapes, some CDs, and then just have your child get that CD, you put it in there for them, or however, depending on how old they are, let them read. Okay, that's another great thing to do. So those are my 7 tips. Of course, there's probably many more, but those are some 7 tips that I think will help you with your child's reading. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment, or you can email me at loveliteracyandlife@gmail.com. Okay, and I will get back with you. But again, put it in the comments here if you have any questions. I'll put the 5 W's and the H question stems in the description box. And happy reading. Have fun, guys, because reading truly is an adventure if you make it one. Take care.